My name is Nicole Hussain. I am a third-year medical student. I am a U.S. IMG. My school is Windsor University. It's located in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I am currently in Chicago doing my core clinical rotations.
My name is Nicholas Madamadola. I am a pre-medical student, although soon to be medical student. I'll be starting school in a few months. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, but for the past year I've been living here in Philly. I'm currently a research assistant at Penn Medicine. I work in palliative care, specifically under the auspices of trauma-informed care.
My name is Byron UW, rising fourth year medical student at Lewis Katz School of Medicine at Temple University, applying orthopedic surgery.
So we're here at the Regional 2, the best region for NMA. So this has been an awesome space to see like-minded and doctors of color, people that look like you, achieve goals that you're trying to get to. So this space has been wonderful for networking with peers, program directors, and future physicians.
Absolutely. I feel like, just to add on to what Nicole is saying, as someone who is just now beginning my medical journey, it's been so amazing to see people who look like me, who have told me their stories. It's the NMA conference, so we've been speaking to people who are, seasoned physicians, I should say. So it's been really valuable to get to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, no, it's been super encouraging, and it's weird as I'm coming towards the end of my medical career. It's really neat to kind of see what possibly lies on the other end of that. See the support that's offered here at NMA. See the camaraderie, the community. It's pretty inspirational. It's definitely motivation, right, to keep going, make this end.
Yeah. It's been really cool. I'm curious what you guys think, but it's been really cool to hear what the sort of moderators have had to say about how to live a balanced life as a physician. It seems like that's been a really, really key for you the past few days. How we can eat well to sustain ourselves. What we can do to exercise. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, it's like, how can we expect to take care of the people that we're signing up to take care of?
Absolutely. So I am a very non-traditional student. I have over 25 years of clinical experience before I went to med school. But it's always been the goal. So I have a very unique story. So it's funny, during our lunch talk, and they were talking about who's the least healthiest, and general surgery came up first. I turned around before she even asked the question and I said surgery. Because we're literally running from case to case. You grab what we can. Donuts are a favorite for anyone that works in surgery. If you bring in donuts, you will have already won over the nurses, the docs, the staff. So so I can totally relate to that. It was awesome. But and then prior to that conversation, we were in a wellness where we were talking about, taking time and deep breathing. And there's an app called Headspace. I am on that app every day. It is a must.
It's one of those things I think. Now it's definitely highlighting the importance of carving out that time in the day. I feel like my personality is I'm definitely go, and I look back at my day. I'm like, where did the time go? And so I got now trying to think, where would I fit in the 15 minutes they were talking about to maybe take a pause and meditate, or where would I fit in, the half an hour to do the little bit of exercise. It's tough, I feel like, to afford yourself that grace to do so and not feel guilty about but I have to study for my exams, or I have to get this application in order. So it's very encouraging to come to this place and hear doctors talking about how they also have those same struggles. It's not just me thing. They're also trying to figure out that battle in their own lives, right, with all their patients and the paperwork and managing that. And even if it's never perfected, it's still something that they strive to to manage. That's really encouraging that we're all on the same page about that same thing.
Absolutely.
So Byron, what would you tell? You're the senior of the group here.
I don't feel like it at all.
So you're what year?
Rising fourth year.
Rising fourth year?
Yeah.
Medical student?
Yeah, medical student, yeah.
Okay.
Third.
Getting ready to start.
Yeah.
So, what would you tell them? What would you tell them, especially my man getting ready to start?
Yeah.
Well, what advice would you give them that haven't been through it?
Yeah, well, actually, maybe it's topical, right? Because that balance we're talking about, that like, it doesn't start like when you're a doctor. Oh, okay, now I can like support it. I think it starts early. I think it maybe even starts before medical school, like coming in with like ingrained habits. So if your thing, right, is just getting up in the morning like and working out, giving yourself an hour a day, or if your thing is your midday like meditation, like you can't miss that. Like you shouldn't lose that just because medical school gets busy and like bogs you down. Like trying to, I feel like that's those core energies, those core components of who make you like what you are. I think it's important to hold on to those. I really feel like the times where I was the most happy through this past 3-4 years has been like when I've stayed true to my tenets, like what makes me happy, like going to the gym, like seeing like my friends, like talking to my mom, like the family, like and making those parts of my day meaningful, like being intentional about having time to do that. I think that's when I've been happiest. And when I've lost sight of that, right, because of exams or finals, when I've lost sight of those things, that's when I feel like I've been like the most down. I feel like sluggish and like, oh, what's going on? Well, I'll tell you what's going on. It's like you lost sight of who you are. So I feel like having time before yourself, that time, building it into your schedule if you need to, no matter like what happens, no matter the exams. I feel like that has to be your recipe for success. So those habits, continue them and don't let the mental get in the way of them.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the things that worries me honestly is, there's only 24 hours in a day, right? But yeah, somehow we have to get in. I mean, gotta take out 7-8 hours to sleep, and getting good sleep. And I feel like when I was in undergrad, I didn't necessarily have the best frame of mind when it came to sleeping and when it came to, taking those self-care, taking self-care seriously. You know what I'm saying? And throughout my gap years, it's really been nice because I haven't been in school. I've been able to do other things, focus on music, focus on exercising. You know what I'm saying? So it's been really cool. So now it's like I'm kind of nervous about having to flip the switch, pretty soon. And I know a big part of getting through medical school is having community. And I don't know, maybe wondering what that's been like for y'all.
So for me, I surrounded myself with like-minded people, and now I'm speaking from the adult me that have experiences. So what I would tell you to do is be deliberate and set a schedule. Time management is by far the key to success in medical school. So for instance, when I was doing my internal medicine rotation, we started rounds at the hospital at 7 a.m. I also knew that I needed to study because I still needed to take step 1. No problem. Got together with all the people in my cohort that were doing internal medicine, and I said, listen, we all have the same goal. If you all are willing and able to commit, we meet here at 5 a.m. So we met at the hospital at 5 a.m. We studied from 5 to 7, and then we went around it. And we did everything we needed to do before the doctor got there, so we were ready. And we did that. And then on the weekends, we had a different schedule. But it was purposeful. And in that schedule, it had scheduled breaks, it had scheduled lunch, and it had scheduled workouts. So be deliberate. Be deliberate. Time management. It's easier said than done.
I was going to say, I feel like sometimes it's hard to keep to the schedule.
Man, it's hard.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But the group kept me accountable.
Sure.
That's the key. If you have someone to keep you accountable, it is absolutely attainable.
That's the key. There is like you said, the circle that you be intentional about that, but who you surround yourself with. And I think NMA is a great example of that. Like this is like the circle, the community of doctors of color, like Black physicians, like, and it's excellence, and we can all see it. So I feel that's like on a smaller scale in our own lives, like having classmates, having peers or who are about the same type of time, right? Hey, let's make these 2 hours count. Let's make these hours count. Make it easier on ourselves in the long term, right?
Man, we're not talking about cats, nothing. Question. Go.
Accountability groups, Where's the key?
Where's the key? Right. I mean, I know accountability was. So I briefly attended the lecture that, or actually, should I say, a sermon? That Reverend Dr. Dr. Mitchell gave, Roger Mitchell. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, as someone who is man of God myself, I really felt moved by what he had to say about having accountability, about the fact that it's very important to keep to your own sense of spirituality, your own sense of faith, whatever that is. I mean, it's different for everyone, but that's the thing that's going to actually get you through medical school, residency, fellowship, all that and beyond, and ultimately, when we're actually in the field practicing, it's like if we don't have that, good for ourselves, how do we expect to be able to then turn around and do that for our patients?
I saw y'all been black for a while.
Yeah,
So,
all my life.
talk to us, Byron, about because we've all dealt with it in med school and whatnot, about dealing with the what they call the microaggressions. That you can see through it.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with the foolishness?
Yeah, it's not easy. Of course, I won't lie and say, shrug it off. It's not that easy, and I think a lot of it boils down to the protective mechanisms that you put up for yourself, right? So, if you go back to our example for our community, right? Mm-hmm. Community is, for me, everything. Community is what's kept me going to medical school, right? So I go to Temple, Lewis Cass School of Medicine. We have a large, a large community of black students. We have a good amount, and we roll very deep, right? So that's been a great shield of protection, I think, around me in terms of, if things do happen, right? Because it's inevitable. It's medicine. Medicine is a white-dominated space. Things do happen. I have peers, right, who can commiserate and empathize and understand. But even beyond that, I have people who have my back. So I have people who are ready to mobilize, and if you need to go talk to administrators, they're right behind me, and we're going to admin and saying, hey, this happened in our lecture hall. That was said by a clinician. This is not okay. This is an example of racism in medicine, right? So this needs to be addressed. And I have 10 voices behind me echoing that same sentiment, and that's a lot of power. That's a lot of person power to make things happen. So I think the community is key in terms of having people who have your back and can vouch you when these microaggressions inevitably do happen. And if that isn't there, let's say someone's at an institution you don't have that that mass of black students and students of color. It's definitely not the end of the world. I do feel like a lot about it is like what you said, staying true to yourself, and understanding your worth, and not feeling debased or devalued because of someone else's ignorance. So not letting that make your sense of worth less, but then having the tools, right, to be able to go back to the person and say, hey, what you said wasn't okay, what you said was wrong, and being able to have that dialogue and point them and steer them in the right direction. Even though that's not your job, right? Your job isn't to be someone's teacher, but think about it this way, the field you go into is medicine, right? This field of service. Who's to say that person, that white person, right, doesn't takes that same tenets, the same ignorance, and negatively impacts a patient, right? Sure. So what you're doing is you're being a safeguard for a patient you might never meet, right? But your dialogue with that person, your ability to converse with them and change their mind or help them see why what they said was problematic or ignorant, that could save patients down the line, right? So that's another way to think about it. If you don't, of course, if you have the ability, if you have the capacity, the ability to talk to someone, have that conversation, in a compassionate way.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's definitely easy. I definitely won't lie and say it's easy to be able to do that, but it could be really important,
So, as far as microaggressions go, I check all the boxes. I am biracial. My mom's Jamaican, dad's Chinese, hence my last name. I look nothing like him, but because my mom's Jamaican. I am LGBTQ. I worked in a space that was predominantly dominated by white males. So imagine showing up to the OR and the surgeon's looking around and say, hey, who's assisting me today? And then I pop out and he's like, and you just see that demeanor change. Because one, now that he sees the color of my skin, he doesn't think I'm qualified to be in that space. So, and when we were going through our training, the first thing they taught us was, in order to be in this space, you have to have tough skin. And I think for brown and black people, that is tenfold. Because no matter what arena we go in, we always have to have tough skin because those microaggressions are there. However, I did my training at the Mayo Clinic, and that was the first time that I experienced it when I got there. Sad thing, all skin folks are not kin folk. That is a fact. Because that microaggression came from someone else that was brown, not my kind of brown, but they were still brown. And if I didn't speak up, then it would have happened to the person that came behind me. So I made it an effort to speak up. And I think when we're in those spaces, that's the main thing. If you see something, say something. Because it's not only to self-correct for what's happening to you, but for the person coming behind you.
When you spoke up, did you go up the chain of command?
Absolutely, I sure did. I'm famous for that. I will email everybody that needs to be emailed. We actually had a meeting. I called the department chair, the 2 program directors that were in charge of the surgical assistants for the Mayo Clinic, and then the 2 gentlemen that were egregious. And we sure did. We had a nice little round table, and moving forward, we had an understanding.
Yeah, so I think that highlights another important thing that might go overlooked, but the importance of keeping receipts. I've had a few peers, a few classmates who've gotten sticky situations, and then they've been able to navigate it because they were so intent on emailing and making sure people are CC, making sure these things are documented. This concern happened today in clinic. Well, that evening I went home and wrote everything down. Hey, this was said to me. This is in black and white. CC X, Y, and Z. Now that's in like the interwebs for wherever that's there. And so when it comes time for any sort of like counsel or disciplinary action, hey, I have this evidence right here. And it's sad to say that we have to now worry about documentation and keeping track of these things. But that's the reality, right? That's the reality. And unfortunately, it was talking this morning how the large number or increased number of residents who get dismissed from programs are more often not black residents, right? So this is a trend. This is a national trend. The space we're in medicine is not always welcome to people like us. So it's more to have our own back, like I mentioned before, but also make sure you keep your receipts, make sure documentation is on point. If that day ever comes, right, where you need it, you want to be able to have it. So yeah, that's one thing I've learned through my experiences and other people's experiences.
I guess for me, the only thing that, first off, thank you both of you for what you have to say about that. I mean, I think the thing that comes to mind for me when I think about microaggressions, aggressions in general, just being black in a predominantly white space, right. Especially as it pertains to medicine, which, as we know, is a predominantly white space, right? I'd say is even in line to what Reverend Dr. Mitchell is talking about. He talks about holding the weight of the world on our shoulders, and so I mean figuratively, right? But holding the weight of the black community, the brown community on our shoulders, that we are the trailblazers, right? I mean, there's such tiny percentages of us actually in these spaces, so we're the trailblazers, and how critical it is, to do what both of you were saying when we do come across instances of microaggressions, aggressions, of dealing with it, because if we don't do that, then we're not setting for the people who come after us, right? We're not setting them up for success.
Correct.
So it's hard, right? To call someone out for the tomfoolery that they're doing, especially when it's on peers, faculty, administrators, things like that. So I mean, that's what just comes to mind. But I applaud both of y'all for what it is that you guys do.
But it's great that you already you haven't even started, you're about to start, but you already have the perspective, right, that is bigger than you.
Yeah.
I think that's such a great mentality that you have, and I'm really proud that you're going to carry that going forward. I think this conference is a great example of that, right? This is NMA, this is for attendings and actual doctors, and here we are as medical students, income medical students who are in this space, right? Because they've made it a priority, they've made it a focus, right? To, like I said, think about who's behind them, who's coming after them, right? Bringing up the new generation of medical students, new generation of future doctors. It's bigger than them, right? So I think that mentality is something that I pride myself on. I think that our community prides itself on the fact that we're so forward thinking, so altruistic in that sense, and that's what carries going to carry us forward, and that's what's going to make us. You know, medicine is a white dominant space, but it's going to help us make little incremental changes. You know, day by day, year by year, generation by generation. I think that mentality that's bigger than us. You know.
Absolutely.
I am thankful for that the NMA exists. I actually just recently found out about it from my mentor because I was, interested in emergency medicine, so I knew about the ACEPT and the EMRA and all the organizations pertaining to emergency medicine. But unbeknownst to me, because my school doesn't have a chapter, that this space even existed. So once the day I found out, the day I signed up, and I came here, and I'm already registered for the nationals. So I appreciate that this space is available for us.
And just to piggyback off what Nicole is saying, I'm so grateful for NMA. I'm grateful for SNMA. I'm grateful for the affinity organizations that really are binding Black and Brown folk together, because it is a time of fellowship. It's a time where we can share testimony. It's a time where we can, just be in each other's company and experience the Black joy. So as someone stepping into medicine, I cannot be more thankful to have the community that I have, surrounding me and uplifting me. It truly does take a village. It really, truly does take a village. And so I look forward to, helping those who are coming after me. Look forward to mentoring those. We need pipeline programs, to make sure that by the time Black and Brown folk do get to the time where they're applying to medical school, they have everything coming right when they need it. And so I'm looking forward to it. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely want to echo those sentiments. And just like as I come here today, it's just a sense of appreciation. I feel like I'm just appreciative of looking around, older doctors, older Black doctors. I don't even want to know what medical school was like for them when they were in our shoes. Some of the stories I've heard even today about the things that people have had to deal with, like I said, the tomfoolery they had to deal with generations ago. Even smaller things, even the structured curriculums, right? Like the fact that we have this focus on wellness here, whereas 10 years ago, that wasn't even apparent in medical school curricula. Appreciation for what we have now, appreciation for the people who made it this way, right? The trailblazers we have here today, who definitely put forth a lot, sacrificed a lot, and are helping us, continue on this path and keep it open for the people behind us.
Absolutely.